You don't notice it at first. The steps are still steady, the arms still reach, the mirror still reflects someone you recognize, but underneath the surface, something has begun to shift. It's not pain, it's not illness, it's more like a quiet subtraction, a softness where there used to be firmness, a hesitation where there was once automatic strength. You brush it off. A bad night's sleep maybe, a skipped walk. But somewhere in your body, a slow unraveling has started. And it doesn't wait for a calendar to tell you you've aged. It shows up in strange places. The grocery bags that feel heavier than last time. The jar that won't twist open without help. The moment you catch yourself pushing off the armrest just to stand. You think, maybe I'm just tired. Maybe it's the weather. You don't want to say it out loud, but something in your muscles feels different, like they're fading. Not in great leaps, but in small, unnoticed steps that only you seem to feel. And no one warned you how gradual it would be. That strength doesn't leave like a thief in the night. It dissolves quietly, and not because you stopped caring, not because you didn't try. You've eaten clean, you've watched your sugar, you've stayed active, you've done the right things, but your body, with all its wisdom, is following new rules now. It needs something different, something it used to make on its own, but now quietly asks you to give it instead. And the first sign of that change isn't on a lab test, it's in how long you pause before rising from the bed in the morning. The body whispers before it shouts, and if you listen now, you might still catch it in time. So when you catch your reflection, maybe brushing your hair, maybe straightening your collar, it isn't that you look older, you look fine, familiar. But there's a pause. You lean in, not quite sure what you're trying to spot. Maybe it's in the neck, maybe the arms. Something is there that wasn't before, or maybe it's what's no longer there. You flex out of habit. There's still shape, but it feels like a memory of strength more than strength itself. The kind that once lifted grandkids with ease, carried groceries in both hands, moved through the day without second thought. Now, even with rest, the effort sticks with you longer. And when you dress, your clothes still fit, but differently. Not tighter, just emptier. Like fabric that remembers the shape of someone who used to fill it out more fully. You button the shirt, you tie the shoes, everything works, but it takes more focus, more breathing room. You adjust how you bend, how you shift your weight. You tell yourself you're adapting, and you are, but not in the way you should be. It isn't weakness, that's not the word. It's erosion, a soft undoing, and it's hard to talk about because nothing looks broken, so you try to dismiss it. You say you're lucky not to have pain. You tell yourself to be grateful, and you are. But under the gratitude is a question that grows louder by the week. Why does everything take just a little more out of me now? No one else may notice, but your body knows. It's been telling you for a while now, quietly, patiently, not to scare you, but to ask you to pay attention. Because it's not just change you're seeing, it's a call, and it hasn't gone silent yet. The hardest part is wondering if you did something wrong. If maybe you weren't as careful as you thought. If maybe walking wasn't enough, or the meals you made with intention missed some unseen mark. You scroll past advice online, much of it loud and conflicting, and it leaves you more confused than comforted. You did what they said, eat well, move more, stay hydrated, and still, the strength fades. Not overnight, but enough to notice, enough to make you question yourself. But here's the truth most people never say out loud. You are not failing. Your body is simply asking for something new. With age, the rules shift. Not because the body gives up, but because it evolves. It becomes more selective, more protective. The muscle you once built and maintained with ease now needs more encouragement to stay. Not more effort, just the right kind of support. It's called anabolic resistance, though no one uses that term in everyday life. It just means that the signal to build and repair becomes quieter, harder to trigger. Your body still knows how to respond, but the message has to be clearer now. This isn't a decline, it's a transition, one your body makes with incredible precision. And it's not about pushing harder or doing more. It's about giving it what it needs at the right moment, in the right way. That's not something you missed. That's something you were never told. Because most health advice isn't made for older bodies. It assumes youth. It assumes flexibility, recovery, reserves of strength that no longer come automatically. But now you know, that shift you've been feeling, it's not weakness. It's a new chapter, one where your body can still be strong, but it needs your help to hear the message. And this is where the signal so often gets lost, right at the start of the day, because for years, breakfast was simple. A slice of toast, a banana, maybe a little yogurt. Light, easy, gentle on the stomach. It felt like the healthy thing to do, and for a long time it worked. But what your body quietly craves now is not just energy, it's instruction. Protein isn't just food, it's language. It tells your muscles, stay. It tells your bones, hold firm. It tells your immune system, stand guard. And the time when that message matters most is right after you wake. You've just gone 8, maybe 10 hours without nourishment. During sleep, your body does more than rest. It breaks things down to keep you functioning. Muscles are tapped for energy. Repairs happen, but they come at a cost. And by the time the morning comes, your system is wide open, ready to either rebuild or keep drawing from itself. That choice, without exaggeration, begins at breakfast. But most breakfasts don't speak loudly enough. A piece of fruit? Not enough. A bowl of cereal? Too quiet. Even oatmeal, wholesome as it sounds, often misses the mark unless something stronger joins the bowl. Without meaningful protein, your body keeps pulling from the same reserves it's trying to protect. It's like trying to fill a well from a leaking bucket. You stay busy, you eat clean, but your muscles still hear silence. It's not your fault. No one said protein in the morning mattered more with age. They only told you to avoid fat and sugar and eat smaller portions. But smaller isn't better if it comes without strength. And light isn't healthy if it leaves your body unsupported. The morning isn't the time to whisper. It's the time to speak with purpose. Because while you sleep, your body doesn't simply pause, it works. Quietly, beneath the stillness, it breaks things down to keep everything else going. It draws from your muscles to fuel healing, brain function, and blood sugar balance. It's efficient, tireless, and exacting, but by morning, the balance tips. You wake not just rested, but depleted. Not visibly, not dramatically, but just enough to matter. And if nothing steps in to stop that drawdown, the loss continues, hour by hour. This is the gap no one talks about, the space between the body's need and the body's nourishment. In youth, that gap closes itself. Muscles rebuild with minimal input. But now, the bridge must be built with intention. Without a morning infusion of protein, the body continues the breakdown it began overnight, slowly pulling from the very tissue you're trying to preserve. And not just once or twice, every day, quietly, consistently, invisibly. You might feel it as sluggishness that lingers, a sense that coffee alone can't clear, or the need to sit down sooner than you used to, or the small recovery that takes longer after something routine, like gardening, walking, or lifting a laundry basket. It's not just age, it's the morning gap left unattended. And here's the truth wrapped inside that softness. Your body is still capable of rebuilding, still ready to respond, but it needs a louder signal, something that says refuel, repair, restore, and it can't wait until lunch. By then, the window has narrowed, the opportunity has dulled. The morning gap is an invitation, not a sentence. It's the one moment each day when the right choice can echo through every system you rely on. And it starts not with more effort, but with more awareness. Because what you do in the first hour after waking can shape how you move through all the hours after. It's easy to think it's all about numbers. Grams on a label, totals at the end of the day. Maybe you've even counted before, aiming for a daily target because someone said you should. But your body doesn't do math the way a nutrition chart does. It listens to rhythm, to timing, to the strength of each signal as it arrives. Protein isn't a score to be met, it's a message to be delivered clearly and at the right moment. You could eat most of your protein in one big meal and still come up short where it matters, because the body can only use so much at once, and it's especially sensitive in the morning. Think of it less like pouring fuel into a tank and more like turning on a switch. The muscle system needs a strong enough input to flip from breakdown to build up. A piece of toast and a spoonful of yogurt won't flip it. Even a single egg falls short. You need enough to speak the body's new language, and that threshold gets higher with age. It's not just the quantity, it's the quality. Proteins from eggs, dairy, fish, poultry, these carry the full set of amino acids your body requires to repair muscle tissue. Plant-based proteins can work too, but they need to be combined thoughtfully. This isn't about restriction, it's about intention. What used to be automatic now needs a bit more choreography. But once you understand that protein is more than a number, once you see it as instruction, you begin to notice the quiet opportunities you've been missing. The forgotten handful of cottage cheese, the scoop of protein in your oats, the small shift that makes breakfast into a beginning, not just of the day, but of protection, strength, and momentum. Because the moment you give your body what it's truly waiting for, something begins to change. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, but it's real. You eat enough protein at breakfast, just once, and a switch flips inside you. Not a jolt, but a signal. A quiet message that says, preserve muscle, hold strength, stay steady, and your body listens. Because it always has. It's never stopped listening. It just needed a clearer voice. That switch isn't symbolic, it's biological. It's the moment your muscle cells receive the amino acids they need to move from breakdown to repair. And for older adults, that threshold is higher. Your body doesn't respond to whispers anymore, it needs certainty. Enough protein early enough is what lights up that response. Without it, the switch stays dim. Your muscles keep releasing, your balance keeps shifting, your steps slowly keep shortening. But when that switch flips, it sets off more than muscle retention. It affects energy, blood sugar stability, even cognitive sharpness. It's like throwing open a curtain and letting morning light pour in. Things work better. Systems align. You feel grounded again, not just awake, but ready. And you didn't have to earn it through struggle, just consistency. The power of that switch isn't in grand gestures. It's in the quiet repetition of giving your body what it needs before the day pulls you in other directions. Protein in the morning isn't a diet trick or a trend. It's a daily act of preservation. A reset button hiding in plain sight, and the moment you hit it, your body does what it's been waiting to do all along: build, hold, and protect the part of you that lets you live freely in your own skin. It's not because you didn't care, it's not because you weren't paying attention, it's because no one told you that the rules had changed. You were taught to eat light in the morning, to avoid heavy meals, to skip meat at breakfast and keep things simple: cereal, toast, fruit, maybe some juice. And for years that made sense. It felt clean. It felt safe. But the body you have now isn't the same one that made those choices decades ago. It's wiser, yes, but also more particular in what it responds to. Doctors rarely mention protein timing. Even nutrition labels don't tell the full story. And most guidelines still assume a younger metabolism, a system that responds quickly and forgives delays. But for older adults, the signal gets quieter, the response more hesitant. Without the right input, the switch stays off. Yet the advice remains stuck in a different time, echoing outdated beliefs. Don't eat too much. Don't eat too early. Avoid fat. Watch calories. And so you followed those rules with discipline, thinking they were keeping you healthy, not realizing they were starving the very systems you were trying to protect. It's not your fault. You weren't misled on purpose. You were simply left out of the new conversation, one that recognizes how aging bodies require different rhythms, different nourishment. And it wasn't just the advice, it was the culture. Breakfast as an afterthought, the smallest meal, something you grab on the way to something else, something that should never feel heavy. But there's a difference between heavy and hearty, between stuffed and supported. And once you see that clearly, the old rules begin to fall away. Because you realize you haven't been failing, you've been underfed in the moments that matter most. And while it may not seem urgent, while missing protein at breakfast feels small, even harmless, the effects stack slowly, like water wearing away stone. One skipped signal becomes a day of silent loss. A week becomes a shift in posture. A month becomes a loss in balance. It's not dramatic. That's what makes it dangerous. It doesn't shout. It doesn't announce itself with pain. It arrives as a little more difficulty getting up from a chair, a shorter walk than you intended, the need to grab a railing that once you walked past without thought. Over time, muscle slips away. Not all at once, but steadily. And with it comes a quiet chain reaction. Metabolism slows, blood sugar control weakens, bones lose their protective cushion. You become more vulnerable to falls, to infections, to fatigue that no amount of sleep seems to erase. The body doesn't just become weaker, it becomes more fragile, not because it has failed, but because its needs went unanswered too many mornings in a row. And the most painful part, it can feel like it's your fault, like you weren't strong enough, active enough, careful enough. But this isn't about willpower, it's about biology. Your body isn't punishing you, It's responding exactly as it's designed to, protecting what it can, giving where it must, breaking down only because it wasn't given the materials to build back up. You don't feel it right away. That's the trap. By the time it's obvious, the rebuilding becomes harder, not impossible, just slower. But when you understand the cost, you also see the opportunity, because there's still time, still days ahead, still mornings waiting, and every one of them is a chance to rebuild, not just your muscles, but your trust in your own strength again, because it doesn't require a grand plan. You don't need to overhaul your kitchen or buy a shelf full of powders. You don't need to count or weigh or track. All it takes is one new promise made quietly to yourself. I will feed my strength before the day begins. Not perfectly, not all at once, just consistently, just with care. And if that feels small, let it. Because small is how strength returns, one morning at a time. You can start with a single change. Maybe it's adding 2 eggs to your toast. Maybe it's a scoop of Greek yogurt beside your fruit. Maybe it's warming up a slice of leftover chicken from last night's dinner and letting it become the first bite of your day. None of this has to be foreign or uncomfortable. It's not about abandoning your routines. It's about reshaping them to serve the version of you that exists now, the one with different needs, but just as much purpose. And if your mornings have always been rushed, quiet, or overlooked, that's okay. This isn't about shame. It's about noticing. You notice what your body is telling you now. You notice what's missing, and you offer it, not out of fear, but out of respect. You treat your breakfast like the beginning of something valuable, because it is. No matter how many days have passed, how long you've waited, or how far strength seems to have wandered from you, this morning is still yours. You can start with whatever's in your kitchen. You can start with whatever your appetite allows. You can start with one small act that says, I still want to move through this world with confidence, with energy, with peace. And the body, loyal as ever, will begin to answer. Because what you're nourishing each morning isn't just muscle, it's everything that muscle quietly holds up. When you preserve muscle, you preserve movement, yes, but you also preserve blood flow, immune response, balance, and resilience. You support your brain's ability to stay clear, your heart's ability to stay steady, your skin's ability to heal, your bones' ability to bear the weight of daily life without cracking under it. Muscle isn't vanity, it's stability, it's safety, it's the foundation for everything else to work as it should. And when you feed it properly, you notice more than strength returning. You notice that you recover faster from the things that used to take longer, that you're not as drained after errands, that bruises fade sooner, that sleep comes more gently, that your mood feels steadier, not pulled down by the slow fog that sometimes follows poor nourishment. Protein in the morning sends a message not just to your muscles, but to your entire body. You are supported, you are safe, you are worth rebuilding. That message shows up in small ways first, a little more stamina in the afternoon, a little less soreness the next day. Then in bigger ways, a more stable step, a steadier hand, the kind of energy that makes you say yes to the things you used to hesitate over. You may not connect those changes to breakfast right away. That's okay. You're not building a miracle, you're building momentum. And the body, miraculous in its design, responds even to modest efforts. Because this isn't about powerlifting or performance, it's about participation in your own life, in the little moments that used to come easily and can come easily again, all starting from the same quiet place, a plate, a choice, a morning with meaning. And when you're ready to give your body that message with clarity, there's a simple rhythm that can guide you, 30 grams of protein within 30 minutes of waking. It's not a rule made of rigidity, it's a rhythm designed for response. Because after a night of quiet breakdown, your body's windows are wide open. The sooner you answer that call, the stronger the reply. 30 grams may sound like a lot, especially if you've grown used to light starts, but it adds up faster than you think. 2 eggs, a few slices of turkey, a spoonful of cottage cheese, a scoop of protein powder stirred into oats or blended into a shake, some Greek yogurt, a handful of nuts, even leftovers from dinner if that's what sits well. You don't have to be traditional, you only have to be intentional. And the beauty of this habit is how quickly it begins to feel like a ritual, steady, familiar, quietly powerful. It doesn't take gourmet meals or precise calculations. It just takes enough of the right building blocks, given early and consistently. With time, you'll notice your hunger patterns shift, your energy arrive more predictably, your body settle into a steadier rhythm. This isn't about perfection. You don't need to hit the target exactly every day. What matters is that you aim, that you bring awareness to what your body hears when the day begins, that you stop thinking of breakfast as optional and start seeing it as foundational. Because when you meet your body's need in the first 30 minutes, you don't just feed your muscles, you anchor your entire day. You give your systems a reason to align. You remind your body that it is not being ignored, it is being cared for. It doesn't happen all at once. You won't wake up one morning and feel like someone else, but something begins to shift, not just in your body, but in how you move through it. You notice the stairs don't feel quite as steep. You carry the laundry basket without bracing yourself. You reach into the cupboard and realize you didn't hesitate first. These aren't dramatic transformations, they're returns. A quiet reclaiming of things you thought had slipped away for good. There's someone, not a name, just a shape you recognize. A senior who started small, one extra egg in the morning, then a few slices of smoked salmon on whole grain toast. A short walk that no longer ended with breathlessness. Weeks passed, then a month, no calorie counting, no new pills, just protein at breakfast and the body's gentle, grateful response. Muscle returned, not in bulk, but in resilience. The hands steadied. The energy stopped crashing before noon. The confidence crept back in, so subtly it didn't announce itself. But it was there, in the way they stood taller, in how they looked forward to the day again. That morning ritual, once overlooked, once rushed, had become a line they drew for themselves. Here is where I begin again. And what they learned, what anyone can learn, is that strength doesn't only come from movement. It comes from what fuels the movement, from what prepares the body to rise, to reach, to recover. And when that begins first thing in the morning, everything else follows with more ease, more balance, more grace. Because getting it right doesn't mean doing everything perfectly. It means doing one thing differently again and again until your body feels safe enough to grow strong again. That's the real transformation. And it always starts with care. And maybe for the first time in a long while, breakfast becomes more than habit. It becomes a gift, not a rushed slice of toast on the way out the door, not a compromise made out of old patterns or outdated fears, but a moment reclaimed, a quiet, chosen act that says, I am worth feeding well. You set the table, or maybe just clear a small space on the counter. You prepare your plate not with guilt or rules, but with respect. You sit, not to diet, not to count, not to restrict, but to restore. It doesn't have to be fancy. A warm egg scramble with spinach, a bowl of oats thickened with protein and topped with almonds, a piece of leftover roast chicken, maybe cold but grounding. Whatever it is, it carries meaning now. Because it isn't just food. It's the answer to a question your body has been asking for years. And slowly, breakfast becomes a place where dignity returns, where you're not rushed, not ignored, not forgotten by a system that treats aging as something to hide. You are here, alive, in a body that still responds to love. Yes, even the kind served on a plate. You chew more slowly, you taste more fully. And in the steadiness of that moment, you remember who you are beneath the aches, beneath the hesitation, beneath the grief of what strength once was. You are someone still capable of choosing, still worthy of attention, still able to nourish the parts of yourself that carry you through each day. This is the breakfast you deserve, not because you earned it, but because you exist, because you are not finished becoming. And because this small act of care, repeated with intention, is how strength begins again, with calm, with courage, with one full bite at a time. There is no rush, no finish line, no before and after story that needs to be told. What matters now is only this: the morning is yours again, and with it, the power to begin differently. You don't need to be perfect, you don't need to be young, you don't need to be strong yet. You only need to be willing to listen, to adjust, to meet your body where it is now, not where it used to be. Your morning muscle plan is not a program, it is a promise, one that begins with noticing. You notice the slow unraveling that used to confuse you. You see it now for what it was, your body asking for help in the quietest way it knew how. And now, instead of brushing it off, you answer. Not with urgency, but with consistency. Not with guilt, but with nourishment. It starts with protein, real, sustaining protein in the first hour of your day. Not to chase a number, but to deliver a message. You are still building. You are still protecting. You are still living. Whether it's 30 grams or 25, whether it's eggs or beans or last night's salmon reheated in a pan, what matters most is that it comes early and often without apology or hesitation. And from there, the rest unfolds. Movement becomes lighter, balance steadier. Energy returns in a way that doesn't spike and crash, but holds gently, like a steady flame. You feel more present in your own body, not fighting it, not fearing it, but trusting it again. That trust becomes the real transformation. Because strength isn't about muscle alone. It's about the belief that your body is still a place worth investing in, that your mornings are still moments of power. You deserve that kind of beginning, one filled with intention, not emptiness, with clarity, not confusion, with enough protein to send the signal that your body is not being neglected, it is being heard. So tomorrow, before the day pulls you in its direction, take a moment, feed your muscles, flip the switch. Begin not with urgency, but with quiet certainty. Because the way you start your morning is the way you tell your body, I am here, I am still building, I still choose strength, and it will respond. It always does.